What's going on, everyone? So we're approaching that time in the preseason where a lot of guys are starting to get waived because, teams have their roster together or teams, have a guy that they like more or whatever, right? A veteran becomes available and you're going to see this beginning of this carousel of players. You're going to start seeing guys getting waived and guys getting bought out and, like Spencer Dinwiddie, right? They actually gave him a guaranteed contract. And he ended up getting waived by the Charlotte Hornets. And it's like, okay, well, they just paid that. But again, it's because they're like, hey, these young guys are playing really well. Let's just go and lean in the young guys. There's all kinds of circumstances why teams and players and things like that end up going. It's like, I have a guy that's 19 and I have a guy that's 21. Give me the 19-year-old because, I have a couple years to kind of develop him better, right? But both guys are like equally as good, right? And both guys can be developed and have an opportunity. So you're going to see a lot of just potential opportunities for the Lakers here to kind of get young guys. We've seen a lot of just players that are very young with a lot of upside and talent. I mean, Milwaukee's waived a couple recently, and I want to go into these players individually at some point, but I do think that this is a good opportunity for the Lakers, not for the main roster, obviously, right? Like the main roster, unless the Lakers pull off a trade, which I don't think is going to happen anytime soon, probably happens, closer to the trade deadline, maybe December. If the Lakers do like an early trade, probably like December time. But like Rob said, he wants to kind of give it 25, 30 games, kind of see and evaluate. LeBron's going to miss probably the first 15 games or so. So if you're the Lakers, you don't need to rush this thing. Like, let's see how this team looks, see how good they look. If this team is, through 15 games without LeBron, if they're 12-3, right? It's like, man, this team might be pretty, like LeBron could be the difference of putting us over the top. And it might incentivize like, hey, let's go get an Andrew Wiggins or something. Yeah, it might be an overpay, but look how good we are, right? Or, hey, like we're, like I said, 12-3 through the first 15 games. LeBron comes back. And then now, we see the next 10 games and it's like now we're, 20 and 5 or whatever, right? It's like, man, like, again, we're looking really good. And Andrew Wiggins would be the piece put us over the top, right? So maybe a trade happens. There's also the other side of that where, Lakers are 3-12 through the first 15 games or something crazy like that, which I don't think they'll be that bad, but I could see them maybe like, could they be like 500 or something? And it's like, would that incentivize the Lakers to maybe make a play? Or is that kind of like, do the Lakers look at it, which is probably the most likely route, where the Lakers look at it as like, okay, well, we can't properly judge this team without LeBron, right? Like my concern is the Lakers are really good, and that's the case regardless, right? Like, man, this team's really good, but let's see if we need anything when LeBron gets back, right? Like rather than like, no, there's still blatant holes that LeBron's not going to solve all of those things, right? Like there's already things that have been blatantly obvious for the Lakers, right? And that is athleticism and two-way player playability, right? Guys that can knock down the three as well as defend, and guys that are athletic out on the perimeter. It's definitely a concern. Now, I do think we are better suited this year than we were last year to cover some of that, but I do think it's definitely something that we need to kind of continue to keep an eye on, and there's some concerns there, right? So I don't think a trade happens anytime soon, so I'm not looking to bring these guys onto the main roster, but Lakers have made it a point, right, they want to be a team that grows, develops, and builds these young players and create this like kind of farm system that cycles, right? So you have, your handful of guys on the NBA roster that end up moving out for various reasons. Maybe they're not good. Maybe they just price themselves out. Maybe they just, it's like, we got this young guy that is just more athletic or is showing more promise or whatever, right? Like, and you kind of, the next wave goes out, and then the new wave comes in. Some guys go to the two-way guys go to the main roster. Some guys might just leapfrog that and go from, the G League to the main roster. And with this new CBA, you need young talent. You need young gems. You need to find those players that are kind of those diamonds in the rough, right? Like, I don't want to just bring on just like random guys, but players that make sense, right? Like, guys that are 6'6", 6'7", right? Like guys that are, that have the athleticism, like the guys that project to be the type of players you need. Now, you bring in 5, 6, 7, 8 of them, right? They're not all going to work out, but you don't need them all to work out, right? Like if you bring in 7 guys, you don't need all 7 guys to work out. You just need like 1 or 2 of them to work out, and now you solved a major need. Or if, maybe you get, say, one that work, like, no, this guy's going to be our 2-way starting 3, right? We just solved our 3 spot, right? Beautiful, right? But maybe another 2 guys are like, they're not starter level, but it's like, man, these guys could be really good just in the rotation, right? These would be 2 guys that are 6'6", 6'7", right? That can slot in, play multiple positions, defend multiple positions. We can bring them off the bench in like, a 7th, 8th man role type thing, right? You see guys like Nick Smith Jr. showing a lot of promise in the offensive range. RJ Davis, I could see him being a Gabe Vincent level replacement at some point, right? Arthur Kaluma is a guy that I'm really high on that I think the Lakers are trying to just kind of hide from everybody. Because again, he's a guy 6'7", 6'8", 7-foot wingspan, athletic. He just looks stocky, just looks built, right? Like he's a guy that I really think you could have, and I've talked about, right? You have more likely than not, Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves, and DeAndre. Those are probably going to be your main 3 guys moving forward. Those are going to be the 3 guys that are going to shape your offense and be kind of the playmakers and the driving force, and then your center position, right? So you have, like, how do you mask Austin Reeves and Luka Doncic on the defensive side? Because that's the big concern. Can those 2 win a championship? Those 2 with DeAndre win a championship? Sure, but you need the right pieces in the starting unit and off the bench to better balance that team, to better balance that unit, right? Now, again, maybe at some point they trade Austin Reeves, whatever, but Lakers are so high on him, they're going to try to keep him. I think the playoffs is really what it's going to come down to. Again, I'm not worried about Austin Reeves in the regular season. We know what he can do in the regular season. Worry about Austin Reeves come playoff time. I've said it before. Austin Reeves this year could average 50 points, 50 rebounds, and 50 assists and just look like the greatest player of all time. But I'm still going to have in the back of my head, okay, what happens come playoff time, right? Like it doesn't matter how good he is during the regular season, because we've seen the last few playoffs, he has not been that same player, right? Good in the regular season and has struggled in the postseason. Now he has, to his credit, worked on just building strength. He said he was in the weight room and in the gym all off season. You've seen so far in preseason, he's absorbing contact better, which I think is good, right? He's like, usually he'd get hit and it was just like a ping pong ball, right? Like just like bing, 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 right? Now he kind of takes the hit and is able to kind of, stay footed. Sometimes he'll fall, but I think that's just more to sell the call than him actually falling, right? There is a version of that can win, but I think you need those athletic 2-way wings that can fight over screens and switch and defend multiple positions, defend 1 through 4 for you, right? You need those type of players. And you're seeing some of those young guys that are coming in, that are being waived, that I would love to see the Lakers kind of go and try to acquire, right? We've seen several guys already that have gotten waived. We've seen several guys that already have, been released or bought out or whatever, that I'd love to see the Lakers get. Nick Smith Jr. was one that the Lakers jumped on. There were several that I talked about that I really wanted to see the Lakers bring on in some capacity, right? It doesn't have to necessarily be a 2-way. It doesn't have to necessarily be, on the main roster. Again, even just bringing these guys to the G League team to be under the Lakers umbrella, right? To where you can grow and develop these guys and go, okay, let's see how, like, they're doing really good in Summer League or in the G League, right? Let's bring them into Summer League. Okay. They're continuing to play really well in Summer League. Okay. Let's bring them into training camp. All right, we got 2 roster spots. These 2 guys, let's go. Right. And now you found those gems. Like, that's what I want to see the Lakers do. Or maybe it's, Nick Smith Jr. and Chris Minnan, who are jumping into the main roster. Now you're bringing 2 guys into the 2-way, and you just have this cycle. And then the next draft cycle, right? You get, a couple more guys, right? Like, you want to, the more young talent you can inject into some form of the Lakers, umbrella, whether it's the G League, the 2-way, the main roster, whatever, right? The more young talent you can get in, the more likely it is you're going to find those players and pieces, right? The likelihood of you finding 2 guys out of 2 is a lot harder than finding 2 guys out of 15, right? Like, and again, you don't necessarily, I'm not saying to the level of superstar or anything like that. Like, I'm not even saying, some of these guys are going to come in and Chris Singleton ended up getting waived, right? Like, somebody like that, or Livingston, not Singleton, Livingston, Chris Livingston, thinking football, right? Chris Livingston ended up getting waived, right? Talk about a guy 6'6", 6'7", 22 years old, athletic, versatile two-way guy. Milwaukee fans were not happy that they let him go because they basically let him go for the Giannis brothers, right? And he's a guy that showed some promise, that looked like, go get somebody like that. Somebody that has NBA experience that, again, I'm not saying he's going to be a superstar or a star or anything like that, even if he's just a 3-and-D wing for you. I mean, look at guys like Derrick Jones Jr., right? Like that guy was like the 15th guy on a Chicago team and ended up going to the right situation in Dallas, right? Got the opportunities. Luka built him up, and to his credit, he actually, he delivered too. It wasn't just all Luka, right? He was hitting shots. He became like the premier 3-and-D wing that year. And look, he ended up getting a better contract with the Clippers and had some success last year with the Clippers. So again, it doesn't have to necessarily be you're bringing in superstars. It's bringing in guys that can be even just in the rotation, your 7th, 8th, 9th guy, right? So you can spend more money on the front end guys, right? Because you got to think, you got Luka for a couple years, but he's going to get a bigger contract at some point. Austin Reeves is about to get $35+ million. DeAndre Ayton, if he plays the way that he's been playing, is probably getting $25 to $30 million, right? Like Jake LaRavia, if he continues to play well, he's going to get a bag, right? Like you're going to need to fill out this team and this roster. And, it's hard now with the new CBA and all the restrictions. If you can find those young players that can provide and fill needs and roles and holes for you on the cheap, that's what you need to do. If you can find those guys that are, again, not even necessarily starting level, but it's like, hey, these 3 guys would be huge for this team off the bench as our, say Nick Smith Jr. is the 6-man guy. And now we have, 3, 6'7", 6'6" to 6'7" wings out there that can just defend multiple positions and play multiple positions. And we can have Luka, DeAndre Ayton, and 3, 6'7", 6'8" wings out there. And then with athleticism and stuff like that. And then Reeves with that same lineup. And then at times Reeves and DeAndre Ayton with Luka and 2 of those guys, right? Like it just gives you that mix and match. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. I pass question to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.